Hello, Prescott, and welcome to New Year 2018. My name is Michael Lamar, and I'm the City Manager. And I have the pleasure of spending a little bit of time with our new mayor, Mayor Mengarelli, Greg Mengarelli. Greg and I are going to have a little bit of a chat about the city of Prescott, looking back a little bit, looking forward a little bit, maybe letting him introduce himself to you if he hasn't already met you. And I guess we'll get started. Well, welcome, Mayor Mengarelli.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you here today.
Absolutely.
As we look back, and the election's over and you're just taking office, how many weeks has it been now?
I think I've maybe coming on to 3 weeks now. Yeah.
Are there specific things from the campaign that stuck out? And
Well, the campaign was it was a lot of work and a lot of fun in that we met a lot of great people and really enjoyed getting around town and going to all the events and it's really about the people. I really appreciated the support and the help and getting to know a lot of new people.
we're really blessed with having a citizenry that's very engaged in local government, and I think that's a good thing to have in a community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's some great groups in town that are very involved. And, I appreciate the fact that we have voters who are engaged, that want to be informed, because at many of the forums, people were always asking good questions and really wanting to know about myself and the issues. So we do have a great voter base here.
That's great, Mayor. One thing I noticed moving here, and I'm sure you noticed on the campaign trail, is there's something going on in this community almost every weekend.
It's, if you love to get out, you can do that. And I'm finding that even here the past month or so as the mayor, there's plenty of opportunities. This past few weekends, my wife and I were at several events, and it's a great city with a lot going on downtown, vibrant social life and a lot of activities to take in.
Yeah, Christmas time's a nice town here.
Oh, absolutely. No, just coming out of the holiday season. Well, I think I gained 20 pounds,
Yeah,
by
me
the
too,
way,
actually.
with all the holidays. But no, what great showings, Michael, we had for the courthouse lighting, Acre night. I went to the menorah lighting. Just some amazing events downtown. The parade was amazing. Great weather.
Yeah, we really had great weather.
Great weather and great turnouts for all those events. The boot drop, amazing as well. So great stuff happening downtown.
Very good, Mayor. And as we look forward to this year, 2018, what are some of the things you're most interested in seeing the city pursue or do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me first say before I jump into that, Michael, in terms of the transition, it's been amazing to be involved with the staff. We have an amazing city staff. They do a great job. Couldn't be more pleased with the efforts to help me kind of get ramped up and up to speed and plugged in down at the City Hall and just some great support down there. So it's been a real pleasure kind of getting up to speed at City Hall and getting to know some of the staff. I've got a long ways to go. I feel like there's a lot of people that I'd like to get around and see, and so hopefully we'll do that in 2018. But to your question, I think there's some really cool stuff happening with economic development that I look forward to in 2018. RISA, we've talked some about already, this new startup where they make these insoles with this 3D printer, and grateful for the partnership with Yavapai College and just how they've really come alongside RISA and helped with a curriculum that's kicking off here this month. That they got started, towards the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
They did. It was nice. RISA, for those of you who aren't familiar with them, they do insoles, and they have kiosks set up at various retail outlets. Most specifically, Costco. I think they have a relationship they're trying to build with Nordstrom's and Sam's. And basically, you go in, you put your feet into the kiosk, and through 3D printing, they generate you an insole, and you get it within a few minutes, and it's significantly less than what you'd pay if you go to the doctor's office or what have you. And
Right.
It's a great product, and they're a great company. And to speak to your point, the Yavapai College, realizing Reese is kind of taking off, is willing to set up a 16-week curriculum to get folks schooled on their technology so they can go out and work for RISA. And the hourly wage RISA's looking at paying is extremely competitive, and we're lucky to have stuff like that coming.
Yep, great jobs, great paying jobs, and we want to just give kudos to Yavapai College for being so quick to come up with that program and willing to do it, and I just think it's amazing, and what a great partnership with Yavapai College.
You're right about that, Mayor. We're so lucky to have the Institutes of Higher Learning that we have here. When you think about a community of just 42,000, to have Yavapai, Embry-Riddle, Prescott College, a branch of Northern Arizona, down in PV, we're just very lucky to have those kind of Institutes of Higher Learning, because they really allow us to have an educated workforce.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had the fortune in December to go to the commencement for Embry-Riddle, and I was amazed at just the number of graduates, but then where these people are going with these degrees, it's incredible. And it's something we talked about on the campaign, Michael, is with the intellectual capital that we have in our 3 colleges and universities in town, we've got to figure out a way to give those people opportunities in our city, because I believe that between those 3 institutions that there's a lot of students that love this place, love the culture, the weather, all the outdoor offerings, and they want to stay here. And so in 2018, I'm hopeful that we can create some situations to keep those folks here in our city. That would be a great boost to our economy, to have high-paying jobs for these people.
And you and I have spoken to this. I have a young daughter, and you have several children, and you'd like them to have the opportunity to come back and live and work where they grew up.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, they might not be interested in that, but we'd like to provide them an environment where that's actually plausible.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I think when you talk about economic development too, Michael, I think about the airport. I think that's a key component. On the campaign trail, I talked a lot about the fact we don't have a port, we don't have a rail, and we don't have an interstate. So the airport really is the main mode of transportation when you think about that, whether it be for business or pleasure. And that's something in 2018 that I'm going to push pretty hard on. I really hope that we can get something off the ground, so to speak, with the airport. And I'm hopeful that we could get regional jets in here in a year or two, if we can get maybe the right consultant in place and kind of figure that out. Right now I have a lot of questions, but I think those will get answered early here in January, maybe February, and we can kind of start seeing some traction with the airport, because I think it'll really benefit not just Prescott, but the whole region.
I agree with you. It's a regional asset. We have a lot of activity on what I would consider North Prescott, and we have some natural partnerships with Prescott Valley and the county that really, I think, the epicenter of economic development for this region could be the airport and the surrounding parcels.
Yeah, no, that's right. And the council recently approved these parcels out at the airport to benefit, hopefully, RISA down the road, where they might have their operation out there. And then there's also another possibility of an aviation company that's looking out there that could really benefit Prescott and our region if they choose to locate here. And I look forward to talking more about that as we kind of understand better if that might happen.
So you alluded a little bit to having the opportunity to get out and talk to some of the departments. And I appreciate what you said, that we have some really good people working in the organization. One of the things, and I also want to thank Councilwoman Scholl and Councilman Good for getting out and meeting some of our departments too. It's nice that the newly elected officials are so receptive to having a dialogue with the department heads. Are there things that surprised you about our government, or things that you've taken from your first couple of meetings with staff?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity, of course, in City Hall, work with those people a lot because I'm in there all the time, and so that's kind of obvious. But then outside of that, I've had the opportunity to go to police and fire and public works, and so those were kind of the ones I wanted to get to right away. And it's been amazing to meet these people, professionals. I think I was surprised most just by the technical ability and the leadership and just the professionalism that we have. We have an amazing chief, Black, who does a great job with our police department. Chief Light at Fire is a great leader and has done a great job there. And then Craig, Dotseth, who is the new Public Works Director, still new, and he's doing a great job over there. And so I look forward to getting around to more departments, but those departments really have impressed me just with their level of professionalism and how efficient they run.
You and I are kind of the beneficiaries of some really hard work that some of the council members did on 443 in getting us some stability in our general fund. It's nice to be forward thinking. And, one of the things I noticed a little bit taking the job was without financial stability, you become very reactive as an organization. But now that we have some stability, we can start doing some economic development things. We could talk about directions we'd like to see the city head in 10 or 20 years.
No, that's right. And during my campaign, I talked a lot about the need. I supported 443 and the need to get that kind of off the front page, if you will, and get that paid down and stabilize our general fund so we can move on to some of these fun things that we're talking about with economic development and the airport. And so I would say, Michael, first, that I would like to thank the Mayor Pro Tem Orr and Councilman Steve Shishka for their work on this. There were a lot of people involved, a lot of people supporting 443, a lot of business owners that supported it. But these two people were really the upfront leaders that did a great job, and I could not thank them enough for their work on 443. But it's important that we have that revenue stream so that we can stabilize the general fund. And I still will want to pay that off as quick as we can. We've got some of these other initiatives, but it's important that we follow through on that promise we made to pay that off as quick as we can.
I agree with Mayor. We made a commitment to the public. We have an agreement with them. And we as an organization need to do everything within our power to pay that thing down as quick as humanly possible.
Yep.
So you mentioned public safety. And, it's an interesting world we live in when you have to worry a little bit more about that. But as we have all these wonderful downtown events, I've been really impressed with how much thought our police chief and fire chief and the departments have put into the changing world we're living in, and an acknowledgement of that, but not changing the dynamics of the event.
Right. Not easy to do sometimes.
No.
Unfortunately, it's the world we live in, Michael, where you see some of these horrendous things happening with people driving vehicles into crowds and shootings and those kinds of things, unfortunately. But we have to be prepared for that.
Sure you do.
In Prescott, we kind of think of ourselves in this sleepy little town where we don't have any crime. And I think I applaud Chief Black and the others that are partnered up. I was impressed particularly at the parade, the Christmas parade, where I saw lots of different departments chipping in, helping out, and partnering up, and that was really cool with the fire department, public works, I think waste management, and so it was cool, I think, for them as well to have that opportunity to work together. But I thought it came off really well. There are some changes that we have to kind of get used to, but I think people really appreciate it. From what I heard,
did too.
that you're sitting there on a street that's closed, and you're thinking, gosh, somebody could just come right down Gurley Street into this crowd. And so I thought there was a lot of good forethought. I know that she did kind of look backwards on that and debrief it and figure out how they can do things better. But I was really amazed, and I felt a higher comfort level knowing that they were out there doing all that extra planning and forethought on any of our big events. It's really helpful.
Mayor, one of the things that I've spent a lot of time trying to get my arms around a little over a year that I've been here is some of the assets we have and taking better advantage of those. And back to go towards an economic development thread, we really are lucky to have the universities we have and to concentrate on some of the high-tech things. And I think we brought on a gentleman in Jim Robb, our economic development director, who has some experience in Silicon Valley and also Seattle, that, we're not going to be the center of a shipping from a tractor-trailer traffic. We're off the beaten path.
Right.
But we do have the intellectual capital of having these highly educated folks who could be basically trained up in your cybersecurity, in your coding. Do you think that's a good track, and do you think we're making some headway?
Well, I definitely see, I follow Jim Robb. He is really pushing hard on some of these initiatives, and I think he's doing a great job. He has connections that every time I'm surprised at who else he knows and how he can get these people to town and all that. But it does dovetail, Michael, into our colleges and universities, because with the cyber tech, as you know, Embry-Riddle has the leading cyber tech department and field of study in the world.
And I think that that's missed sometimes. When you add aeronautical university to your name, I think sometimes you get pigeonholed. And I've had those conversations with the chancellor. And you're right. It's amazing what they're doing beyond the aeronautic field.
Absolutely. You know, when I went to that commencement I was telling you about, there is just so many great fields of study they have there, including engineering, which again is one of the other leading departments that they have there in the nation. But with cyber tech, to your question, and with technology and coding, I think these really fit well with who we are as a city. Very clean, doesn't use water, and they're high-paying jobs.
Yes.
And so I think all those are big strengths when you talk about moving in that direction with tech and cyber tech. And so I think Jim's done a great job. Jim Robb's done a great job, and I look forward to 2018. He's really laid, in my view, a lot of groundwork back in 2017 that I think we're going to start seeing a lot more fruit come of these conferences that he's been doing. And he has the executives come to town to these conferences, and now they're being introduced to Prescott and kind of finding out who we are and what we have to offer. So I think it's going to really come to fruition in 2018.
I agree with you, Mayor. And, you know, one of the things that we've worked diligently as a staff is opening folks in the Valley's eyes to what we are. We're more than a place to escape the heat.
Right.
We have tremendous assets in terms of natural beauty. We have tremendous labor assets. You know, the idea of come visit, but put your business here, or come visit or have a satellite here, is something that I'm very passionate about, and I know you are as well.
Yeah.
So.
You know, with positioning, Michael, I think a lot of people think of us as either the weekend getaway, you know, to get out of the heat, maybe come up for Christmas and the holiday season, or they think someday I want to live in Prescott after I retire. Yeah. And, you know, I think that's going to start changing in the next couple of years where they go, you know what, I should just move my business up here or start a business or whatever the case may be and start that track sooner. Because so many people want to live in Prescott for the quality of life, but they think they have to retire and don't think about moving their business up here. So I hope we change that position.
I agree with you. And you know, we have so many, this is an age where working remotely is so viable, and we have good connectivity here. I think the idea of having people in high-tech fields that maybe work here, that are off-site from the mothership, is very practical and reasonable for us to hope for.
Yeah, Jim Robb's been working a lot with some of the larger corporations, Microsoft and Google and some of these guys, on having satellites here. And again, I think because of the colleges and universities we have here, it really works well because there's some opportunities for those satellites to work even with our universities here in town, and some benefit that way. But you know, one thing we didn't talk about yet is the innovation center that Jim's working on, and I know it's still fledgling and hasn't really taken off yet, but the concept of having this place where college students could come with their dream idea and we wrap around them the necessary resources to help get that off the ground with capital, but also expertise. You know, these people have amazing intellectual talent, but they don't probably know how to run a business, start a business. And so I think it's a great idea that Jim's had to try to get this innovation center started. So I look forward in 2018 to hopefully see if it'll get some legs.
You know, one of the things I've noticed with the retirees is we have such tremendous assets in terms of potential mentors for young people. There's so many captains of industry that have retired here. And a lot of them, when I have a dialogue with them, say, I would love to be a mentor to a young business person, show them the business side of their dream idea. And I think those relationships at an innovation center just make perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you some other questions. Let me think. What else is a burning issue of the day? Growth and development. You caught the tail end of the Deepwell Ranch discussion.
Right.
And I like to say to people, growth and development is going to happen. You have two choices. It happens on top of you, or you plan for it. I think we've done a pretty good job of planning for it.
Right. Yeah, this was a campaign issue as well, Michael, where the Deepwell Ranch was kind of front and center with the council. It was going through planning and zoning, and then eventually landed in the council and was voted on November 28th, the last day of that council's tenure before we took office later that day. But it was fascinating for me to sit in and listen to the discussion. I thought our staff did a great job again this is a pretty good-sized project.
It
for
is not small by any way, shape, or
well,
form.
and it's a little outside of our paradigm, honestly. I mean,
It's the truth.
yeah, and so, but again, I felt like the staff stepped up and they had thought this through, and lots of good discussion from the public, which I think was helpful, and there were some changes and tweaks as a result of some of that public input, which was helpful. But I think the big thing, Michael, is, people see 8 or 10,000 homes, and immediately some people kind of get up in arms, and I understand that. But at the same time, we have to remember that we grow 1 to 2% a year, historically for decades.
It's always been very manageable.
Right, and so I think when you look at our history, you know that we're going to have this really methodical, slow growth. And I think the other thing at play right now is with the workforce, we're seeing some really low numbers with workforce. We've been talking to some people in town about how to strengthen that, but there's just not the people in workforce right now, the labor force, to really help get this done in any fast fashion.
Especially in the construction industry, which is
Right.
probably what you're alluding
Right,
to.
yeah, that's right, in the construction industry. And I know that there's more development on the horizon for Prescott. And again, I want people to know that we are going to be very thoughtful. We have their best interests in mind. It's very important to me that we have the proper open space. There are certain different features, particularly around Watson Lake, that it's important that we preserve. And I was grateful. This kind of got lost, Michael, with Deepwell on the November 28th meeting, but there was a good chunk of open space
The open space purchase.
Yeah, it was 160 acres. And what a great, I walked that before that
Beautiful,
vote.
isn't it?
It's
contiguous to the Peavine. There's some natural synergies between what's on the Peavine, what's at Watson Lake, and now creating trails on the other side. Yeah, I agree with you. And we are so lucky to have such biodiversity here.
right.
There are elements of that, like the dells, that we're very cognizant needs to be protected.
That's right. No, we need to do whatever we can to make sure we preserve those places that make sense to be public spaces, like this 160 acres that was purchased. So
Yeah.
it was a very good move on the part of the council. I support that wholeheartedly. I think it took in actually about a mile of the Peavine Trail right there,
It
if I'm
did.
not mistaken. So.
And I'm anxious to see what the Over the Hill gang does with that.
Oh, well, I know Chris Hosking in Parks and Rec has been all over that property, and we'll have some amazing trails out there on that new property, so I look forward to that.
Greg, how long have you been here in town?
I've been here for 23 years this month, so yeah.
What would you say the biggest change from when you arrived here to now is?
Yeah, well, I will say before I answer that the cool thing about this is I don't think we've lost our historic charm and our friendliness and just the people that really make Prescott great. I think we've kept that, even though 23 years ago we were much smaller. But I think in terms of change, I appreciate the fact that we have more options for shopping. My wife uses Costco a lot because we have 9 children.
Buying in bulk's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, and so we take advantage of that. And so I think just the options that we have available locally, which we love to take advantage of, so we don't have to run to Phoenix. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing, and just opportunities, like I said, for my own kids to stay here. I've seen that increase. My oldest son is in town, and so that's a great thing, but I want to see that continue. So more opportunities, I think, which is great for our folks here in town.
I can only speak as a fairly recent resident. I've been here a little over 14 months, and you're right. It's a very hospitable town, a very welcoming town. I don't think a very judgmental town.
Right.
Spending a lot of time in the rural South, it's a little bit different animal for me. But there's a lot to be said for how warm and open this community is. And the fact we all, for the most part, are all from somewhere else. Sometimes that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah, kind of a melting pot for sure.
Yeah, it really is. So one of the things I'm really happy about is I think you have really great fellow elected officials. I think we're going to have a good council this year. Are you getting to know some of them?
We have a great council. Obviously I got to know Councilwoman Scholl and Councilman Good on the campaign trail. We hung out quite a bit together because we were at all the same events many times. So great people. And then, we have a wealth of experience and just institutional knowledge, which is great. When you look at Councilman Lamerson, Councilman Blair, these guys know so much about our city, and it's such a great blend.
It really is.
When you have, Councilwoman Scholl, who's 20, just so eager to learn and very smart gal who's really working hard down there. But you also have these, guys that have all this. I was going to say older. I shouldn't say that. But these guys that have been around so long that have this institutional knowledge. I think it's great. It's going to be a great mix. I really look forward. It's been great working with them already these past couple months, and it's going to be great moving forward.
During the campaigning, I heard a lot about the different demographics that were represented in the potential candidates, and I think you're right. I think we landed on an interesting, good mix of people that are millennials and people that are Generation X, like you and I probably, or people that are baby boomers. It's kind of a nice cross-section of what this community really is all about.
Yeah, no, it is a good representation of our city, and it's been a lot of fun working with the council so far and the staff, yourself. And so 2018 is going to be a great year.
Greg, one of the things I know you're very passionate about, and I am too, is what we can do to have better regional cooperation, better relationships with the Board of Supervisors, better relationships with Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, Dewey. And you and I got to spend a little time with them this morning at a mayor-manager's lunch, or breakfast, excuse me. And then we ate lunch with them today, and I think there's this misnomer out there that there's all this discord and discontent and animosity, and I don't see it. Are you seeing it?
No, I don't feel that at all. When we have those breakfasts, Michael, it's when I look back on those where we have the Quad Cities there with the mayors and the usually a few council members are there, the city or town managers are there, and what I remember when we get together is just the camaraderie, the laughter, and just a great time hanging out. And then we do dig into kind of what's going on in terms of updates with our cities and towns. And no, I feel a lot of camaraderie in that room when we get together, and I think it's indicative of the great people that are in those cities and towns, and they want to work together. I mean, it was great to have lunch with Mayor Skoog and Larry Tarkowski the other day, and I just think we really are starting to see kind of this whole region come together more and see how we can work together and how what's good for them is good for us and vice versa. So there's no real competition as much as if they have a victory, then we share in that victory as well, and vice versa.
No, it's the whole idea of alone, none of us are going to succeed to the level we can. Together we may. So. Well, this has been a fascinating and great conversation.
Yeah,
and,
thank you.
I appreciate the fact that you're so open, and we're going to have, I think, a really good year this year.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing year.
So thank you, residents of Prescott, for tuning in today. And again, Happy New Year.